All right, you
Rock
gonna
and roll.
introduce yourself?
Yeah,
Tell them about your
absolutely.
expertise.
Sure. So I'm with, as you can see, our company's name True Homes. You probably know us for more so our communities. And we do about 2,200 homes a year for that. And we service all different finish levels and different clienteles. So the main purpose of our company is to serve affordability. And so you might see several starter home communities of ours, and then also maybe a move up neighborhood. And then we also, maybe in a Waxhaw, we might come out with a luxury collection that we also have. So if you think of us as, or if you've only seen one neighborhood of ours and it's just starter homes, I ask that you open up the horizons and let me share the on your lot perspective. So essentially, our value prop is we're able to leverage our parent company who does 2,200 homes a year and get pricing for our materials and our labor off of them, which for on your lot is significant because most on your lot builders are doing maybe 10 a year, 20 a year, up to 70. But if you're getting your pricing off of that many homes a year, it's just, they're not going to sharpen the pencil for that price cut. So when we get it from 2,200 a year, it's like kind of buying in bulk from Costco. So that's pretty much how we're able to pass those savings on. And with the dollar per square foot that I'll share, that's how we're able to keep them so affordable and such a good value. In our communities, each community is assigned a collection. So we'll label it as, this is more of a starter home neighborhood, the move up, and like I said, luxury. But for on your lot, they get to choose and they have access to all of our collections. So that means 80 plus floor plans. And then each one has several different versions that you can build. And then within that, several different ways they can tweak it. And then even for those that say, I want a modern farmhouse or something like that, it's like, all right, well, first of all, what's your definition of that? Because everybody's is a little different. And so we might, can you send me a few pictures and then I can kind of show you what we have. Each one of our floor plans has about 20 to 40 different elevation choices. So the front of the home. And then within that, someone might say, let me add a metal roof above that porch and then put some board and batten here and we're set. And so that's an inexpensive way to make a modern farmhouse, especially if they choose the right color choices. Our dollar per square foot, it starts around $101 per square foot. And that would be more for a 3,500 square foot home that has no basement and is on, well, that actually is priced out on a crawl space, but we also do a stem wall foundation and a mono slab. Those are less expensive. So we pass those savings on to the client. That's typically a $7,500 to $10,000 savings for them. But all of that depends on the lot itself that they choose. As far as choosing the lot, we need you guys for that. We are one of the few builders that love our broker partners, and we don't just love them. We need you guys. We want to work with you for this. We don't have the capacity to do all this lot search and everything on our own. What we need is to partner up with you guys and be on a search. I personally do not have MLS access. I am I guess just an agent, not a realtor. And because of that, I use Zillow and it's awful. But I still, get to see what's on there. But I'm like, all right, is this accurate information? So us together, we work through that. And then thank God for GIS. That is the portal that we have public information for from each county. And you and I would pull that up on GIS, the lot that they're interested in, before they purchase it. And just, we hopefully would already know what floor plan they like. So we'd know kind of the width and the depth of that. And then we also got to consider any garage options that they want. Typically for a side load, they need an extra 25 feet. And that's also thinking about the driveway since it'll be coming in from the side. And then for a third car front facing is 10 foot. And so these aren't things that I'm expecting you to know. These are things that, hey, let me do that work. And then you get the client on board and together we'll get everybody to the finish line in the house that they need. But going back to the dollar per square foot, starts at $101 a square foot. It goes all the way up to maybe $200 a square foot. And that's for more of a 1,100 square foot home in our Uptown Living collection where, I mean, there's just not enough. It's just more expensive to build, or maybe even our ranch plans, those typically go about $170 a square foot. So it all depends on what they're looking for. 2-story is the more better bang for the buck per se, just because it costs us less to build up than out. less foundation and materials and all of that good stuff. We always pay our brokers 3%. And then as far as getting your clients registered, most builders, you know, they're really heavy on the whole procuring cost thing. And what really the best way to do it would just be to contact myself and say, hey, I've got a client interested in On Your Lot. And then all I have to do internally is go to what we call TH Traffic internally. And I'm just putting in the client's first and last name and then you as their realtor. So I'm just tagging you right to it. But all in all, we want to work with you guys. And it's a pleasure to be on the call. As far as site work, so that's one thing to keep in mind. So the cost components, because people might think that they see a base price and they're just ready to rock and roll. There are different things you have to consider. So our base prices, I will send you guys all of our current pricing after this. I will send it to your leader and she will send it out. But our site work is where we also handle all the horizontal work. So the only thing we truly require from the client is what's called a septic permit. And we would get that too, but you have to own the lot or be under contract to get that. So we just can't. So other than that, we're completely turnkey. And what I mean by site work is once I get a construction to perm pre-qualification from you, the lender, or the client, I send that into my builder, the managing partner on the build side, and he's out to that lot within a week of when I send it. And then once he goes out there, he's looking at essentially what it's going to take to make this lot buildable. And that might be things like temporary drive and then maintenance of it. It might be some things that the county want, like tree save. How much dirt do we have to move? Final grading, initial grading, the whole driveway. On the bigger acreage, it's just going to take more driveway and that's just going to bring more cost. But on average, and I'll send this in the email that will be sent out, but for city sewer lots, typically it's 25,000 to 50,000. And that 50,000 would be like a completely wooded lot. And we're also maybe demolishing a house. And so that might be on the higher end of those things. And then once it's septic and well, it can get up to about 50 to 75,000. So as you're looking for a lot, we have to keep those things in mind because they can't just think that they're buying a $70,000 lot and it's good to go. And then they have a base price and they're out the door. We need to consider the actual floor plan they want, and then the cost of the lot that'd be good for them because we want to leave room for that house too. So if they have a $400,000 budget or $500,000, we need to be very diligent with our choices there. And then our job is, of course, advise them in that manner. Once the site work is done, that's when we're able to contract. We don't think it's very ethical to get them under contract and then throw a site work number at them and then have their deposit at our own will. It's just not how we do business. So we want, although they might want to go into contract right away, we're like, hold on 1 second, give us less than a week. We'll be out there. We'll get you that number. And once they see it and they're comfortable, then everything's good to go. We've had some clients ask like, well, can we just do our own site work? The only issue with that is once we're out there, our builder might need it differently than it is. And then we'd have to charge the client on top of that. So let's say they had a cousin that does grading and they go out there and it's just not done to the right grading plan that we need for this house. It would need to be redone because we need it perfect. And we're putting our signature and our warranties on this lot in this home. So it really needs to be in compliance with all of that stuff. But other than that, is there anything I'm not covering? Or if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Yes, so that is a good thing to touch on. So we have a 6,000 square feet design studio. And so just like our communities, it goes to the same design studio and it's in Monroe. And once they're there, they get to completely customize their home with the interior colors and then product choices. There's like maybe 10 rooms, up to 12 rooms in there, and they each service a different purpose. So all of our cabinets, all of our flooring, they'll get to physically touch all of those things, which is good. And from there, after that, we just order the products, finalize the loan, and then maybe 2-3 months later, begin the build. So we got to wait on those products to come, which leads me to the build time though, which is important to touch on. So for On Your Lot, it's 10 to 12 months. Compared to our competitors, I'm told that many are leaking into over a year, which that can be tricky because with construction to perm loans, there's many lenders that have like a 12-month rate lock. So if you push over that, it can get kind of tricky for clients. I don't know if maybe there's a 14-month, not that I've quite heard of yet. But for those that don't know what a construction to perm loan is, we have preferred lenders that we leverage for this. I personally am not the finance expert. They're definitely a little bit more tricky loans and slightly harder to qualify for. So maybe instead of a 620 for FHA, a 640. So just a little bit needs to be sharpened up. But we do have lenders that don't have as much red tape as maybe the bigger banks, and they're able to move mountains and be creative, but they'd want to see and feel comfortable with the kind of common sense lending is what they call it, and just make sure that this deal makes sense for their bank too. But all to say, with it being a newer loan to most of us, and even myself, I've been around it for quite some time and still haven't been able to fully wrap my head around it. We're able to leverage those guys, and they do get a reduced deposit for using them, and then also up to $2,000 in closing costs. The main thing, that's all that stuff's great. Most important thing is they work with us on all of these loans. They do about maybe 50 of the 70 jobs we do as a division each year. So it's just going to be a smoother process, less work on all of us, less stress, less room for error, for pushing back closing, all of that good stuff. They're just people that essentially that we know and trust, and they're held to a survey. And if they go under 95% willingness to refer True Homes with them as the lender, then they're off the list. So these are people that are held accountable, and they have to do a good job for our clients or they're gone. So that is definitely important.
So I've heard that you do this just you build in certain areas, right? So how far is that reach, or counties, or where do you do this?
That is a great question. So I'll send the market map in this follow-up email. However, a good rule of thumb is we go as high as Statesville and as low as a little bit past Waxhaw, and then as far left as Lake Wylie, Clover area. I don't believe that the map covers the other side of the Lake Wylie, the Clover area. But if you ever have a client that's just over the lines that I send, you're welcome to still send the address. And all I need to do is send it to my builder, and he can either say yes or no, and potentially make an exception. We do not cover Kannapolis, believe it or not, but we do cover everything kind of like Kannapolis is just outside of the line. They say yes to Concord typically, although it's not in our map. And I don't know why they'd say yes to Concord and not Kannapolis. But when I'm the boss, I can change that. But it doesn't make sense. Yeah, but that is how it is. We don't do Denver either, so they're not willing to go to the other side of that lake, which also stinks because there's some great, less expensive lots out there. I think the main thing they're keeping in mind is setting expectations for our trade partners, which is another part of our value prop. So they sign our trade partners onto 1-year commitments, and these are also trade partnerships that we've had since creation of 2008, maybe even through 2013, that kind of in the beginning stages. So these are people that actually show up and do a good job, and if they don't, they come back and do it right the second time. And they're just reliable trade partners that we have relationships with. And because we bring them so much business and have them on an X amount of starts per day, they're just more reliable, because it's just hard to find people that want to work nowadays. And thankfully we have that, we have that panned out. So.
What about Rowan County, Salisbury, China Grove area? Does that kind of fall in there? I know you're going to send us the map, but I'm just curious.
Unfortunately, we do not go that far.
Okay.
Yet. Well, we are looking to expand, but yeah, that in the near future we do not.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And buyer commission, did I cover that? So we 3%. Okay, good. Yep.
Does anybody have any questions for Parker? Or did he just pretty much throw it all out there? Yeah. They're probably all taking notes.
In that follow-up email, I'll kind of have everything.
Okay.
And put it all.
Okay, that'd be good.
But yeah, just in closing, the important things to know is we do offer, like I said, 80+ floor plans. So although you might have a client that says, I have my own floor plan, I really want to use it, but they might not have the budget, because these custom builders, they're getting they're in the $300 per square foot. And so we're that happy medium to where if you send me the floor plan, I can send you something that we have similar. And then maybe we can still make touches to that to make it unique and make sure that it's, you know, still meeting all of their needs. And I would just, once again, if you think of us as a starter home builder, just know that we do anything from 300,000 to up to $1 million. So we have those options for those luxury buyers. We do many things in like the South End area that can hit that price point and all that good stuff. And we do work with investors in this situation in our communities. We do not sell to them, but for the on your lot, there's even, because our dollar per square foot is so good, that they're able to just purchase with us. And this is also important. We lock their price in at contract, where I don't know of any other builders that do that, just because hard costs are going up every single week. And so whether it's for us recently, AC and then cement board siding, we're just getting hit with like $3,000 to $4,000 more per home. And if that were to happen after contract with the majority of the on your lot builders, that would go straight to the client as a change order, and they need to pay for that. So although they could qualify for that home at first, and I have a friend with this happening right now, his lumber just went up 40%. And so now he's underwater. But thankfully, I mean, with the appreciation at the current rate we're going at, it does regardless kind of outpace that. But with us, they're locked in, and then they can just have that all as equity. And so sometimes clients will be like, hey, I'm just gonna flip this. Is that cool? Yeah, we're like, we don't care what you do with it. But all to say the value is there, and we have all the options, and keep us in mind for the jobs that you have. Let us see what we can do, even if it kind of sounds like a stretch. One other thing we do is called ADU units, and that's an accessory dwelling unit, and it's kind of the loophole to get 2 units on one property. Another thing is, if you ever have questions about subdividing a lot or anything, feel free to run those by me. We have access, and I guess you do too, but we just do this a lot. And feel free to leverage me. But essentially, the county, they used to say, just based on the density is how you will determine if you can subdivide it. So if it's R5, then, you know, you get 5 units per acre. But they recently, and I don't know the exact change, but I think it's within the last 5 years or so, they now require road frontage plus density. So they want to see for maybe an R3 that you have 70 feet of road frontage for each unit that you want. So a client might buy a lot mistakenly thinking they can subdivide it and put 3 units on it because it's R3. But what they didn't keep in mind, and when they already have the due diligence down, is that it's only 120 feet wide, and they needed 140 in order to subdivide it. So each R3 is 70, and then as it goes up, it's 60 for R4, R5 is 50. So we put all those things into account, and then quickly, within 20 minutes, just on GIS, thank God for technology, we can just tell you, hey, yes or no. So just give us the vision for the project that this client has in mind, or whether it's an investor, and then we can kind of say yes, no, and help you validate this purchase. And then it'll be, of course, your job to determine whether this project would make sense for them from a like a comp perspective. And what we usually do with someone who's just building to rent or sell is we'll team up with the realtor and go through all the comps, and then go through the pictures and determine the finish level of that neighborhood or that exact section. And then we'll try to match that, because from an investor standpoint, you want the least amount of money in as possible, but you still want to have nice products. So in an uptown collection or something like that, you might want to go with the bigger baseboards. And then it already comes standard with the granite, the quartz, the model standard backsplash, and then the cabinets too. So there's not too many upgrades because we do have such good standard features, but there's still, you know, if every house is selling with a covered porch in that neighborhood, we got to put a covered porch. So those are things we have to keep in mind. And then also we'd want to look at their pro forma, just make sure that they're aware that of the tap fees, which vary per county. And I could say they're one today that could change overnight. We're never made aware, but Mecklenburg County is kind of on the high end of I think it's 11, 12,000 for tap fees. If they demolish a house, it's already set up to water and sewer, so they're set, but it does cost about that same price to demolish it. So it's kind of just a wash. And then other counties can be 3,000, 2,000, 6,000. That's the more reasonable and normal cost for that. But Mecklenburg County, they'll get you. but that's about.
All right. And what all falls under the ADU?
So under the ADU, we have maybe 4 to 6 floor plans, and those are 2-car garages with an apartment up top. And so this would be good for, typically for that, it's not for your mother-in-law suite or anything, just because of those stairs. That's more for like an Airbnb play or long-term rental, whatever they really wanted to do with it. But also we could do a detached 2-car garage back there, no problem. And that you don't have to think about the road frontage or density with that. And you'd want to do that while the house is being built, because afterwards it's just hard to access back there typically. But we also have ADU units that are just 1 story, and no ADU unit can surpass 700 square feet, and that's per county, but that's typically what it is. So they're not going to be huge. What they're going to be is kind of like an apartment. I live in a 700 square feet apartment. It's like a bedroom, a great room, your kitchen, your laundry, and your bathroom. And so they still give ample space in each one of those things, but it's just enough. So if it's a mother-in-law kind of ordeal, you'd want to do the 1 story, most likely no garage back there, just for immediate access, no stairs, that kind of thing. And then we also have floor plans that will put that upstairs. And then lastly, that likely, depending on if there's an HOA or not, sometimes it needs to match the house. And so we can give them color choices to match it. And then also they could tell us, hey, board and batten here, stone there, that kind of thing.
Do you know a price?
On that, on the top of my head, I don't, but I'd say they typically run out the door maybe 150K. So we could do that math quickly, but it's a reasonable price. And then lastly, I guess there's no project too small, no project too big for us. We're doing a 100 unit townhome thing in Gastonia, and that is not in our region, but for a volume like that, we will take it. I'm told if you get the deals, we'll hire the builders. So if you ever get around an investor that wants to do something big, we have all the right connections, whether it's getting them with the right civil engineer, which right now are just impossible to get. But because we bring them so much business, they take priority to our clients, and we're able to get them in there in a timely manner. And what they would do for those type of projects, they need like a preliminary plat plan, and then these guys do it all to send it into the county. I think their services might be between $1,000 and $3,000, and so just completely worth it. And you have to go through them, I believe, anyway. And they help kind of plan the neighborhood, whether it's maybe they bought 5 acres and they want to put 4 lots on it or anything like that. And we have all the right connections, whether it's for septic permitting and all that good stuff. So you don't necessarily have to have the relationships. We have those set in stone, and we have multiple guys for each if they want to get a comp for that price too. And all in all, we just want to be a partner to you guys, help you out. We know land is difficult, and it's just like so many variables. And so whether I don't know it, thankfully we have just an amazing team that is so helpful too. So between all of us, we'll certainly get the job done and give them a great house.
Any questions, comments, etc.? They're all saying great info. That's good. Yeah, if nobody has any questions, we can wrap it up. Do you think of anything else?
No. I think that's all, guys. So thank you for your time. And then also in that follow-up email, I'll just recap everything I spoke about. I already have some emails put together that will put all this in one, and I'll attach the price sheet. Like I said, the prices are locked in at contract for the base price. However, before that, if we do get a hard cost increase, that does go to our base price. So we're priced to a certain margin, not to the market. And because of that, before they go into contract, the price is subject to change, and we kind of give them a heads up and use common sense with all of that stuff. But also once they're in, they're in, and all is good. So what I send you will be the April pricing. There's no talks of a price increase as we speak, but that always can change, because if we get hit with something, it could be overnight. You just never know. But all in all, to say, you'll get my email from your leader, and I'll just send all the good stuff. And any questions you have, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Melissa.